RE2, we're back, of course, talking that FF7, talking a bit of Square Enix. You know the drill. I'll be honest with you guys real quick. There's just kind of nothing to talk about, like nothing major, which is why we haven't done a video in like however many days at this point, but we got to put out some content, we got to do something, we got to talk about something, right? I hate not doing videos for like several days. So we're just going to kind of do like a little roundup kind of video, news, info, whatever's out there. For starters, some Remake on Switch 2 information. The resolution for the game will be 1080p and 30 frames per second on docked mode, which I found to be a little bit surprising only because I assumed the Switch 2 could do better in docked mode. I know Remake, especially Intergrade, is like a bigger game. It's a very fast-paced game, a lot of moving parts and things in the middle of combat and shit. I just assumed it'd be a little bit better in docked. To be clear, I'm aware that the Switch 2 can do better than 1080p. I know it can do like 4K or something around that area, right? So like, I'm not saying that it can't do that. I just assumed that Remake would be a little bit better. And to be clear further, I'm fine with 1080p 30 frames, being a console gamer most of my life, all of my life really. Like that's what I'm used to anyways, like 30 frames per second on most games that you play besides like current generation. We could finally get to like 60 frames, fucking performance modes and shit, right? So I'm fine with it. Like the resolution and the frames don't bother me personally. Also, I'm not going to Switch 2 probably ever, so who gives a shit? Some other Switch 2 news for Remake Intergrade is that it'll be just under 100 gigabytes for storage space, which is a large part of the internal like storage, internal memory within the Switch 2. It's like roughly like 40%, just under like 50% of like the whole storage space you have, at least default on your Switch 2, which is kind of insane. Not really surprised, because Remake and Rebirth are both very large games. Like the fact that it's still like around 100 gigabytes, it makes you wonder how the fuck big Rebirth is going to be when they bring that to Switch 2. Like, realistically, unless you get, like, an SD card or something else to, like, give you a bunch of memory on your Switch 2, like, you could only have Remake and fucking Rebirth, potentially, and that's it for, like, fucking storage space. And speaking of that, you probably, at least with your default memory, couldn't have, the Remake trilogy on your Switch 2. And actually, I'm wondering how big Part 3 is going to be, to where I probably couldn't even have the trilogy on fucking PS5, at least with my default memory that I have. I do have, like, external hard drives and shit, but I never, like, made the internal memory bigger, ever. Because with Remake Intergrade on your PS5 and also Rebirth, like you're pushing around close to like 300 gigabytes, right? And there's only like, I think like 500, technically less with like updates and shit to the console, like 500 or so gigabytes of internal memory. It's like with the whole trilogy installed, that's going to be like most of that, if not all of that. Some other random bits of news, Square Enix is doing a 10th anniversary collaboration with Undertale for like music and merchandise, which is kind of interesting, I guess. Undertale is one of those games I never got into. I know it was like hugely popular back in the day, and maybe it still is, I assume. I don't know. But it never appealed to me. I guess, got it or something. I've seen a lot of gameplay of it. I've seen people play it and shit. It's just I never wanted to, like, myself play Undertale, I guess. So the collaboration's a little bit weird, other than maybe, like, Final Fantasy or Square Enix games in general being, like, inspiration for aspects of Undertale. I don't really understand the collab. Genki does mention in his tweet that Yoko Shimomura's one of her tracks was like an inspiration for a track in Undertale, so maybe there's like a lot of connections between like Square Enix games and Undertale. I don't know. Again, I've never played it. Some very interesting info is that March of next year is the Game On Expo, and it'll be the first time we're going to have like Brianna White, Cody Christian, Tyler Hoechlin, and even Susie Young together. They'll be there for the usual kind of like con type stuff where you can like photo ops and things like that, but there will be a panel, at least according to the Game On Expo tweet where they talked about Cody coming. They do mention that he'll be available for a panel. So we'll have like maybe like a Q&A thing they can do with like the audience or something. I don't know exactly what it's going to be. We'll kind of cover that when we get closer to it. But if you've been following the channel for a while and if you've been in the community for a while, you probably feel the same. Like we've never had Tyler for anything that I'm aware of. In regards to like FF7, right? Like he does a lot of Comic-Con type shit for like Superman and Lois and whatever. And he's been asked like Sephiroth type questions. And he usually gets excited because he didn't get to like talk about Sephiroth enough. But this will be like the first time that he's doing something specifically for FF7, obviously, because he's doing it with Brianna and Cody and Susie. And this is something I've been wanting for, like, the entire time we've been following 7 Remake, since, like, 2019, when we got, like, the updated voice actors and shit. Like, I've been wanting more of, like, Cody, more of Tyler. And Cody's done a few things here and there over the years, right? Very few. Like, I can think of, like, one or so panels that he did, like, leading up to Rebirth. And maybe another one or two throughout the years for, like, Remake and some interviews here and there. But he hasn't done a lot, right? It's usually a lot of the other voice actors, like, John and Britt and Brianna and Susie and all the other like kind of main cast that are super involved with the community, going to these cons all the time and everything, and I really, really appreciate that. But obviously I want, no offense to them, I want more of Cody, more of Tyler. Like Cody's the main guy, he's the main character, right? He voices Cloud, and obviously Tyler is Sephiroth. He's the main fucking antagonist of the game, the main villain, right? Maybe not the overarching main evil in some regards. You could argue Tojo or Genova, right? But obviously Sephiroth's the fucking villain. And like, again, as far as I'm aware, other than being asked questions at other like cons for like Superman and stuff, like I don't think he's ever really done anything for FF7. So like this might be the first time ever. But also we're gonna have like a lot of these voice actors together. Right? You're gonna have like Cody and Tyler on the same panel together. Like that's exciting. Like I want to hear them interact and talk about their respective characters and shit. Right? Like that shit is so exciting. I don't necessarily want to put like too much stock in this panel, but obviously it's the first time, as far as I'm aware, that Tyler's doing this, especially Tyler and Cody together, which is really, really cool. What does that mean for part 3 stuff? Like, is that maybe like an idea that like we're gonna see part 3 stuff before then? Obviously, we're expecting Game Awards here relatively soon, right? Some people don't think it's gonna happen. I'm still very confident, but could be wrong. Maybe they, for whatever reason, don't show part 3 until early next year. But the fact that this panel is happening in March, maybe that gives us like an idea of like sometime before March, hopefully, we're going to start seeing part 3 stuff. Maybe this panel is just like a way for them to kind of help talk about part 3, market part 3, something like that, right? I don't know. Speaking of Tyler, though, there actually is a recent Hamaguchi interview where he's asked about Tyler, and he talks about how, like, him and Tyler, this entire time, you know, with the remake project, I don't exactly know when they brought the new voice actors in for sure, but obviously, like, 2019 till now, about 6 years or so. Like, him and Tyler have never, like, sat down and talked, like, this entire time. Tyler's just, like, I guess a really busy guy. Asked how it feels to have Superman actor Tyler Hoechlin in his cast, Naoki Hamaguchi says he gets the impression he's a really busy guy. As a part of the promotion, they talk to VAs and go over things with them, but he's not had the opportunity to sit down and chat with them. Hamaguchi says he'd really love to take that time and talk to him about the creative side of things. Hopefully that'll happen one day, but unfortunately he's not as familiar with the guy because he's always so busy and going off to do other stuff. Yeah, it's kind of crazy that somehow through all the years so far, like Hamaguchi and Tyler have never had, like, I guess, a conversation. I know he's busy doing like CW shit, like, you know, Superman and Lois or whatever, but like, what does he do besides that? I don't know, without looking at like his Wikipedia or some shit, right? Or his IMDb. I don't know what he does besides fucking Superman. So I do think Tyler's doing an amazing job. A lot of people want to, you know, talk about him not being as good as George Newbern, and I think they're both great in different ways because they're different interpretations of Sephiroth, right? But I do just wish that he did just a little bit of FF7 stuff. I understand if he can't like fully commit to it or whatever because he's doing other stuff, but still. Also, some more Sephiroth-related stuff from the interview. Asked if he has a favorite music track from FF7, Naoki Hamaguchi says he really likes Sephiroth's theme. Hearing it start up always takes him back to that moment he was a child in the game when he turns up and it really sends shivers down his spine. Obviously, One Winged Angel is very iconic. I can't say that it's necessarily my favorite track. I don't know where it'd be if I was to like rank the FF7 music or some shit, right? Because most of the music in that game is iconic to me because I grew up playing that shit. Same thing with like 8, 9, and 10, right? Like that's all my childhood, all 4 of those games. So it's really hard to like rank music from any of the games. But I have said before that Listen to the Cries of the Planet is my favorite track from FF7. One Winged Angel is so iconic that like even people that aren't necessarily like Final Fantasy VII fans or even Final Fantasy fans potentially know it. I agree with Hamaguchi though, right? Like even all this time later, FF7's almost 30 years old. Anytime that track comes on in like an FF7 related game, when you're seeing like Sephiroth, he's doing something bad or ominous or whatever, and that track hits, it is effective every time. It'll be pretty much the video, my dudes, kind of everything that I'm aware of over the last like handful of days, maybe since we last did a video, that are kind of interesting and worth talking about. The main thing for me right now is the fucking panel in March. Like that's exciting to get like Tyler and Cody and Brianna and Susie, and maybe there's some other voice actors that'll be announced or maybe have already been announced. I'm not sure. I'm just aware of those 4. Very much looking forward to that shit. Either way, that is the video. Subscribe to have you guys new social notes in the description below. Follow me on Twitter, @DavidYT. That's it. Bye.
Used to care what people thought, but now I care more, and nobody out here's got it figured out. So therefore, I've lost all hope of a happy ending, depending on whether or not it's worth it. So insecure, no one's perfect. We spend it with no shame. We blow that like Coltrane. We inhale.